Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. Russ and Addison back again to use DynastyLeagueFootball.com's Trade Finder and Trade Analyzer to help you make some trades, get some player values, get ahead of your league mates, and crush them. I think I did the crush them last week, and I like the feel.
Just love crushing everybody.
Friends, enemies, relatives, crush them all.
Yes.
Grr.
Like Kendrick Lamar did to Drake on Sunday night. You know, that's what you got to do to people.
Sure. I will say I was not the audience for that show. I'm glad people seem to love it. Good.
I loved it. I was the audience for the show. And his little say Drake with the whole like smile into the camera. That was, dead. You want to see a dead man? Drake.
You see some bell bottoms making a comeback?
I did. It's been a big TikTok trend of people trying to bring back their bell bottoms.
Seems like
I don't think I've ever been alive for bell bottoms to have been a thing. I think I was.
They came back in the 90s for a little while. Like right after the whole Britney Spears low-rise jeans thing came bell bottoms. You were probably too young for that though.
Yeah, I just
see all this gray. It comes with the knowledge of jean trends, apparently.
Bell bottoms.
But that's where this show just went.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we are not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about free agent running backs. We did free agent wide receivers last week. And the free agent running back, in all honesty, it's not great.
Mm-mm.
It's not great, but we're still here to talk. And we're going to jump right into Najee Harris, who is the cream of the crop of this running back class, which right away kind of shows you what
says everything you need to know about this running back class. It is no 2024, that's for sure.
I mean, I still think that Harris can walk in and be a 1A somewhere.
Or, like a 1A or just like a plain old 1. I think that he has I like to say that he's the cream of the crop of this class is both a nod to how not good the class is, but also like feels like we're low on Najee for some reason. I think he has a skill set that the NFL likes. It just doesn't necessarily translate super hard to fantasy because he's not a super high caliber like receiving back.
Yeah.
A lot of his fantasy value comes from touchdowns. And, if he has, 18 carries for 82 yards, like that's a good NFL game. That's 8 fantasy points for us, so that's where that one of the disconnects between NFL value and fantasy football value. So that's why I think that we devalue Najee, but I think the NFL will value Najee semi-appropriately as a pretty like above average caliber starting RB1.
Yeah, and it might be a little rough with a very deep running back draft class coming in as well. But I still think there's a lot of teams that can use running backs.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when we're not really in a league of workhorses anymore, every team is going to want more than one on their rosters. Just to show you how Najee's old team, the Steelers, even though Najee had most of the touches, Jaylen Warren still got his fair share. So I still think we are in a world where Najee sees a 1A type role, at least.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so let's get into the trades. 12-team Superflex, 2 PPR for tight ends. The trade is Dalton Kincaid and Najee Harris for Josh Jacobs and Marshawn Lloyd. Dalton Kincaid, 270. Najee Harris, 140 for a total of 409. Josh Jacobs, 291. Marshawn Lloyd, 50 for a total of 340. Yeah, I get it. I really like Josh Jacobs, and I think Josh Jacobs will be good again this year, but the extra, like a full point premium and Najee doing more than he did this past year, I think this is pretty easily the Dalton Kincaid side because Marshawn Lloyd almost feels like a non-entity here. I hate trading for backfields, getting multiple players in the same backfield because all you're doing is handcuffing your own player. Or if Marshawn Lloyd ends up being that 1B, you're never going to want to start him unless Jacobs gets hurt anyway, and then he's eating into Jacobs' work. It's a mess. Like, I don't like trading for multiple running backs in the same team. But to me, this is pretty easily Kincaid and Harris because I feel like they'll both be useful.
The only thing that's making me want to pick the Kincaid side is the premium. That's like, because I know you are also on board. Like, you're not a Kincaid guy.
I'm not a Kincaid fan.
Yeah. And so I just like, I'm looking at his stats from last year. He had 44 receptions for 448 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Oof. It's not a great season.
Granted, as a rookie, he was 73 for 973 and 2. He played in 3 more games than he did this past year because he got hurt. But it seems like Kincaid, like we want Kincaid to be more than what he actually is in this Bills offense. And, I'm already seeing the mock drafts right now of like, oh, imagine if Buffalo goes out and they get Trey Harris or they get Emeka Egbuka or they, sign somebody in free agency to, like what they wanted with Amari, but they tried again with somebody else as that kind of perimeter wide receiver. It just makes it seem like that the media, at least the way that we're reading Buffalo, is that they don't necessarily really want to use him as a Travis Kelce or a Trey McBride or a Brock Bowers. Like, he's just more of a cog in the system, kind of like Tucker Kraft to a degree.
Yeah.
And he's just not one of those guys. Like, he'll benefit, of course, from a 2 PPR tight end premium, but he just doesn't seem like one of those guys that like really benefits from that. So, but I want to pick Josh Jacobs in this. The only reason that's making me lean towards the Kincaid side is the premium.
Yeah. It's only a 1-year age difference between Jacobs and Harris, but it's only one draft class in between them also, I think. 2019 and 2020,
no,
right?
2021. Najee should have been 2020, but he stayed till 21.
Right, okay. Yeah, but like it feels like a bigger age difference. And I guess 2 years isn't the biggest difference in the world, but I don't know. To me, it's still Kincaid Harris.
Okay. I'm on board with that.
Let's move on to the next one. 12-team, 1 quarterback. Najee Harris and a 25-second for Chris Olave. New coached Saints, Kellen Moore. How easy it was. Like, I know he went home, but like he coached a game in New Orleans and then became New Orleans head coach. Like, he could have just like stayed. Like, okay, I'm home now. Does that hiring change anything for you for Saints players?
Possibly, in the sense that like Kubiak's system was very interesting. It definitely seemed to like I have hope for Seattle because of what I saw from Clint Kubiak last year. It's just that everybody got hurt in New Orleans. So I don't know if the offense is going to be better, like as a collective whole, if Kellen Moore's offense is going to be better than what Kubiak's offense was doing at the beginning of the year last year. But I do wonder if Kellen Moore is better for Chris Olave because it seemed like Kubiak's system really liked Rashid Shaheed. And, they were being very successful even with and without Olave. Olave still had a few good games, but I wonder if Moore is going to view Olave kind of like how he had with A.J. Brown, how he had with, of course, CeeDee Lamb in Dallas or Keenan Allen in L.A. I wonder if he's going to view Olave as more of like that alpha one and is truly going to be the offense that's my hope for Olave. I don't know if he's going to get there, but that's at least my hope for him. Yeah.
The rough part is that Carr is still the quarterback.
Yes.
But the thing that does give me hope is that, Kellen Moore is a very pass heavy coordinator, but you're in Philadelphia. Saquon Barkley's doing Saquon Barkley things. He adjusted. He didn't try and keep his game. He's like, all right, well, we're going to be a running team now, even though that's against everything I usually do. And that gives me the hope that he's not going to just try and squeeze the square pegs into round holes of players versus his play style, where he might go there and be like, all right, these are the guys I have. Let me figure out how to run an offense with these guys.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Olave, I think, is by far the most talented player on that outside of Kamara. But it's Kamara and Olave. That's who you should be running your offense through. And hopefully we have a coordinator that realizes that, and then Derek Carr is able to make that happen.
This reeks of someone being afraid of Chris Olave's concussions and just wanting to get out on Chris Olave. he's still only 24 years old. Concussions are a weird thing where, I mean, we'll all keep pointing to Brandon Cooks because he's the most obvious and most, because he's a wide receiver in this one as well, where he had like 3 concussions in what felt like 3 weeks and then never got one again, at least documented.
That is true. I wonder how far apart they were, because I always think about Austin Collie.
Oh, that
he got like bam, 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 and then he's just like, yeah, I'm done. And I totally understand why. Brandon Cooks is a good example though too. Head concussion. He had one in 2015, 2018, then 2019 is what I'm seeing, and then never had one ever again.
So like that's, and like it's the same thing with calling someone injury prone. You can't really do it because usually they're not related, and here it's not related. I would prefer the upside of what Chris Olave can be, and of course, I've tempered the expectations of what I believe Chris Olave really can be. I don't think he's going to end up being a top 10 wide receiver anymore. Now there's just too much good talent in the league at this point to be able to, he'd really need to do something to push his way through that. That would be amazing. But I still think he can be a very solid low end 1, high end 2, if not just a very solid 2. And I'll take that all day over a 26-year-old wide receiver. And I guess it also depends if that's the 201 versus the 210. Like maybe it would make me feel a little different about it. But still, I think the value is on the Olave side here.
Yeah, I wasn't able to figure out where exactly this pick was because as we were making this show sheet, NFL is rolling over. So their site's down. So I can't see where this pick actually is. And I feel like some of the value of this deal does hinge on where that is. Like you said, if it's like very early or very late, that could sway you in one direction or the other. But I still feel like regardless of if that's the 201, best case scenario, yeah, I'd probably still take Olave over Najee and the 2.01. Definitely makes it a more interesting conversation. Yeah. But if I'm already taking Olave there, I'm taking Olave if that's the 205 or the 207 or whatever it is. Because like you said, the upside's just there for Olave. If Olave can get back to what he was like in like 2023 as like a top 20, top 18 kind of guy, then that's way more valuable from a dynasty standpoint than a top 18 or top 20 running back in Najee Harris. And you're hoping that you do something with that second.
Exactly. All right. So like we said before, the class is a little, so we just lumped together the rest of them in an others category. And the first trade we have is Aaron Jones straight up for Calvin Ridley, 12-team Superflex. Aaron Jones, 121.8. Calvin Ridley, 186. You're going to make me do it. Honestly, this is Aaron Jones to me.
Wow, okay.
If we knew what the quarterback situation was in Tennessee, maybe I would feel a little different. Like if they went out and they got a vet, because they make it seem like they don't want it to be Will Levis, and they have the first overall pick. So it can be Ward or Sanders if they want it to be. But like if you tell me it's going to end up being like Kirk Cousins, then maybe I would take Calvin Ridley. But right now, I don't care. He's 30. I still believe in Aaron Jones and in that offense, regardless if it's McCarthy or whatever they have to do at quarterback. I believe in the Vikings offense and in Aaron Jones.
But what if Jones isn't in Minnesota? This whole point of the show, Russ, he's a free agent. He's a free agent. He might not be in Minnesota.
Yeah, it feels like they bring him back, though.
Would you take the unknown of the Ridley quarterback situation or the unknown of Aaron Jones's situation? Because I do agree with you. If you told me right now that Aaron Jones was back in Minnesota for 2025, I would take Aaron Jones over Calvin Ridley. But I have the fear of like, because, you know, it happened with Zeke. It happened with Dalvin Cook. Of just, what if he just signed somewhere to be like a backup and then he kind of looks.
Yeah, but they were cooked before that signing. Like we knew.
Dalvin came off a 1,000-yard season and then looked like absolute dust in New York. Zeke came off of a near 1,000-yard season and had double-digit touchdowns and then looked like dust in New England.
I think Calvin Ridley's points at wide receiver will be more easily replaced than Aaron Jones will be at running back. I feel like Aaron Jones has still shown the skill set to be a guy somewhere. Again, more like a 1A than a 1, but still, I think I still take Aaron Jones here, which makes me sad.
That's fair. I feel like Ridley might be the better person to hold on to for the next 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And then you make this deal in July or August. So that's probably the answer now, is a timing kind of thing. But yeah, I do. Again, if you told me that right now that Aaron Jones was the starter for Minnesota again, or he signed somewhere else to be the starter, like he goes to be the starter for the Chargers or somewhere like that, I would pick Aaron Jones. The only issue is that there really aren't a lot of teams out there that need a starter right now. And especially with this draft class, even if you get signed as a starter, that might be blown up in April, So that's why I think that Aaron Jones has a much rockier 3 to 4 months than Calvin Ridley. Ridley's value could go up depending on if people really like Cam Ward or really like Shedeur Sanders, or if they, like you said, they go get Cousins or somebody like that, But maybe in July or August, I'd probably do this for Aaron Jones.
Yeah, and there's no reason to really, I guess if you're Aaron Jones manager, there's more of a reason to do it now than there is to Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley's value can't really go down at this point because either they keep Will Levis and his value stays the same, or they do something at quarterback and it affects his value. Could it get worse than Will Levis?
I think theoretically you could get worse than Levis, but not really.
Yeah, so I think Ridley's value will stay. So I think in the long run, Addison is right. If you're the Ridley manager, this isn't something you have to do right now. This is something you could hold on to and wait and see what happens. But if you're the Aaron Jones manager and you're looking to get out, which they stayed at the same age, they're both 30 years old. But if you're looking to get out, you should probably get out now if you're concerned, like Addison is saying he was.
Yeah, you can even move over, go get Ridley, and then, like I said, if you need a running back in July or August, you look at the running back landscape, and maybe you're able to move over to a different running back that maybe has a bit more. Like I'm a big Ramondre Stevenson fan. Maybe you could trade Ridley for Stevenson if Stevenson survives, or whoever ends up being that running back.
Najee lands in a good spot. You trade Ridley for Najee.
Yep, something like that.
Next trade: J.K. Dobbins for a 25 and 27 second. J.K. Dobbins 81, 25 second, 145, 27 second, 59 for a total of 203 is the picks. I love Dobbins. I want Dobbins to be a thing so badly, but he's not great anymore.
Yeah. It really was amazing. Like, it was very, very fun for the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season last year of being like, "Oh, J.K. Dobbins is back." But then as the season went on, man, he just got less and less efficient. He's not a receiving back, or at least he wasn't used that way in LA. Don't know where he can go that can make that situation better than what he had as the Chargers wanted to be the most run heavy team in the NFL, or at least a top 5 run heavy team in the NFL. And I don't know where Dobbins goes that has that same kind of identity to where that makes it better or the same for Dobbins. So it feels like his situation, unless he's back in LA, is basically guaranteed to be worse.
Yeah.
And that scares the crap out of me. Would you trade 1 second for Dobbins if you're really in on it, or are you hands off right now?
Pretty hands off at this point. There's no reason to do that. Again, a lot of the times, especially with these, Dobbins is only 26, but still all second contract running backs we call old. There's no real reason to do this for a 26-year-old running back right now, even if it is just for 1 second. I guess if it's late enough and you're just a fan of the player, sure, why not? If you're a big J.K. Dobbins fan and that's the 210, sure. I wouldn't. But if you will.
I probably wouldn't. He's probably I got an extra third or two, and I feel like going for it.
I would send some thirds for J.K. Dobbins.
Mm-hmm.
Next trade: Javonte Williams and Cedric Tillman for a 26 second and Pat Freiermuth. Javonte Williams, 65. Cedric Tillman, 49 for a total of 113. 26 second is 77, and Muth is 48 for a total of 124. So pretty even in the analyzer. I just want the second.
Just the most valuable piece in this entire deal. The second.
Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of Javonte Williams. I like him more than the Broncos do. He's not going to be back on the Broncos. Javonte will be on a new team. I think they even said that. And Cedric Tillman was showing pretty well until he got concussed and just never came back. But man, like these are all long shots. And Muth is, well, we don't know who the quarterback is in Pittsburgh at this point anyway.
If it even matters. Muth is another one of those tight ends that's just like, he's just there, you know?
Like, I don't hate the idea of throwing out a year out second in Muth for these dart throws. I don't hate it. But if it's me, I think I just take the second.
Yeah, I could just be completely wrong in the fact that I just don't care at all about Javonte Williams. Like, he's just so not even on my radar that I just, if I can get a second for him, no matter what year, I'm totally fine with that. I would say, though, that at least based on the analyzer values, if you have the ability to trade Javonte Williams for Cedric Tillman right now, straight up, I'm doing that 1,000 times out of 1,000. Of just, I just went off of Javonte Williams. So I would take Tillman for him. I'd take a second for him. I'd take Jalen Coker for him. I'd take, any of these kind of like more higher upside, younger-ish wide receivers. I mean, I'd even take like Keenan for him or Diggs. Hollywood, I'd take him over Javonte. There's a lot of, if you have Javonte right now, I'd send out an offer for like 18 different guys and see if one of them sticks.
Next trade, the 112 and Rico Dowdle for a 27 first and 27 second. The 112, 210, Rico is 58 for a total of 268. The 27 first is 160. The 27 second is 51 for a total of 211. That's just too far out. 27. I get it. There's a very good, very, very, very good chance that the 27 first will not be the 112.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 years away. And I get that that's like, you're going to hope it's the 101 and you get Jeremiah Smith out of it. Like,
it's
Arch Manning possible. Holds back a year. You hope that's Arch Manning. Like, but I think I would rather, and it's funny, we're not even talking about Rico Dowdle here. Rico Dowdle is going to be a 2 somewhere in my mind. Like, he, to me, didn't really show enough that he's going to go and earn a contract somewhere.
Yeah, we're in the stage right now of these are like the best named free agents, and I don't think any of them are going to be relevant whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think I would take the 27 side on this one, though, because I would take a 27 second over Rico, and I'd play the lottery system with that 27 first. I'm not thinking that I'm going to turn it into Jeremiah Smith or something like that, but the 27 class, I think as a whole, is probably going to be a lot better. And, even if it's not Jeremiah Smith, if it's, I can't even think of who else would even be in that class.
Oh, I don't even know anymore.
But somebody better than the 112 in this year's class. I think it's a pretty solid bet. You just have to wait a couple years. I'd probably do this for the 27s.
Yeah, and I get it value-wise. Value-wise, I think it's probably even enough. But yeah, just give me the pick this year, and I'll get 27 first later.
Makes sense. We don't care at all about Rico.
Nope.
Sorry, buddy.
Next/last trade is Nick Chubb for a 26th third. I would take the chance on Nick Chubb for a 26th third.
Would you? I probably would too. It's just so much fun to root for him. I mean, that's really would you? So I ordered this. I purposely ordered this in terms of how the analyzer has these running backs valued. So Nick Chubb is the least valuable free agent running back of the 6 guys that we've talked about so far today.
Yeah.
But he feels like, and I don't know if maybe I'm just holding on to name value, or it is just more fun to root for Nick Chubb because he just seems like a super swell guy who probably really still uses the word swell like in his regular vocabulary. And I feel like I'd rather have him than basically everybody I listed in this others category. Maybe not Aaron Jones, but maybe the other three. I'd probably rather have him than JK, Javonte, and Rico. Yet he's the least valued of all of them.
Him and JK are probably right next to each other, but that's also probably bias because I just like the two of them.
If you had one third-round pick and you could only buy one of them, JK or Chubb,
can I cheat and say I'll send both offers and whoever accepts it, I just feel happy about it?
Nope. You got offered both of them at the same time in your email box. And you have to hit accept on one of them. Oh, you're coin flipping it?
Yeah.
I think I would take Dobbins would be my answer.
How old? What's the age? 29 to 26.
26. That is the only reason why I think I would choose Dobbins is because he has at least a couple more years to do something.
That 3 years is a pretty big deal. I think if I had to make the choice, I would take Dobbins over Chubb. But that was the last trade we have. So that is the end of our show. Thank you, everyone. This has been the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. Russ Fisher, Dynasty Outhouse, Addison Hayes, @AmazeHayes_. We'll catch you next time.